What is up, everybody? Liam and Bert here for week 14 picks against the spread. NFL picks, as always. Bert, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Getting ready for a big weekend in college football and Patriots football. Need to get some wins here.
Yeah, you need them. So would say I'm heating up. Don't let me get hot now off a 9-6 week.
I'm clawing myself out of a minus 23 hole.
Hey, man, only one way to go up, and I said I'd stick with my process. Got a little tighter last week. Had my best week in DFS in some time. Almost banked a mill. We were close. We just needed a couple more points from Christian McCaffrey, but whatever. We're feeling good about this week. This is my favorite time of the year where those of you who have done best ball, this is the last week of the regular season for best ball. So playoffs start next week. It's exciting. I'm excited, man. Hopefully we can sun run a tournament. Let's show the results and go game by game. So yes, as I said, me with a perfect 9-6, some bad variance and some spots. Bert, rough week, 5-10. We will give you the New England game. That was more of a had to bet on the boys week. I get those spots.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so frustrating, man. I mean, they're now at the point that players are openly saying that the offensive coordinator has no idea what he's doing. So the season, I mean, like it is the Patriots, so they're 6-6, but just any
feels
other
over
team,
for you guys. It feels comfortably over.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, if they win this week, then they're 7-6. I mean, they're only a game back with a tiebreak over New York, so I mean, they could still squeak in, but it's not like they're going to do anything in the playoffs. I would say it is accurate that the season is not going anywhere further than the wild card round. Like that would be a huge success at this point.
The problem is, minus the Bills game here, the Jets have some winnable games. They have some losable games too, but the Patriots, like the Raiders are finally looking fine. The Cardinals are actually fully healthy. The Bengals probably the
Bengals. Best. I mean, that looked like it might be a game that they could win earlier in the year. Now, not so much, but
Dolphins. I think you guys.
I think what's going to happen is they're probably going to go 2-0 in these next 2 weeks. And then they just have to pray that they're playing Case Keenum in week 18.
It's possible. So yeah, real quick, I thought the Jets played really good, and Kirk Cousins stood in there for some huge hits. So credit to Kirk, but I thought the Jets was a pretty solid bet where they played well, man. And the Vikings continue to be lucky and are actually underdogs this week against the Lions.
What do you think? They're going to be in the NFC Championship, and people are still going to be like, "Well, this is just a lucky team."
I mean, it's possible. I mean, when you have Justin Jefferson, anything is possible, I would say, but doesn't really change the fact they are lucky. This one,
I mean, they could end up with a first-round bye. I mean, that's totally within the realm of possibility.
It's possible. It seems really unlikely the way the Cowboys and Eagles look.
Well, the Eagles would have to drop 2, yeah.
And then they don't have the head-to-head.
And that's assuming Dallas. Minnesota wins out. Yeah.
Washington at the Giants. The Giants, this game ended in a tie, but I think that actually hurt the Giants more, if I'm reading this right, where now they're very catchable by Seattle. And the Lions, who have looked great, are technically in it. And they're favorites this week against the Vikings. They're at 2.5-point favorites at home against the Vikings.
What?
The
That's absurd. I
what
mean,
are they, like the 4-7 Vikings versus the
4-7
9
Lions.
and
Yeah. What's your feeling on ties in the NFL? We don't really get a chance to talk about it more than like
well,
once
I
or
would,
twice a year.
at the time the Washington Giants game was happening, I was wondering if a tie was really good for both of them, like the same as like effectively a win for both, because that is one of the tie breaks. Like a tie will get you in, but when it's like a 3-way tie, maybe ties aren't so good. I don't really know enough like minutia like that, but
I'm just like in terms
I'm
of the
okay
NFL.
with ties. I'm okay with ties.
Yeah.
In the
I saw
regular
somebody
season.
saying that first team to 6 in overtime. That would be. I think that's a pretty cool concept. So either 2 field goals or a touchdown.
That is, but like, what happens when you get those games where literally a team can't score?
Yeah. I mean, I
You
guess.
can't let these men play extra quarters. It kills the body. Like, and we're seeing it even with the longer schedule. I would say a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I
Um,
would think that game 18 is coming pretty soon here, and then. But yeah.
The Eagles. This is what made me a lot of money in DFS. Just playing a ton of Hurts and AJ Brown. Like, I thought this revenge game narrative was so clear, and the
They
Eagles.
fired their GM.
Well, that's what I was going to say. AJ Brown rightfully got their GM fired. Now, we should talk about this a little bit because I don't remember the guy's name, but the Titans GM, he did a lot. He's hit on like a lot of good picks, and the Titans haven't had a losing season, I think, since he's been GM. They're going to win their division again. But I think this was a statement that, hey, you chose Derrick Henry over AJ Brown, which was wrong. And we're seeing it with the Cowboys too. Like, it's so dumb they chose Zeke over Amari Cooper even. But so you did that wrong.
But my question is like, what does the Titans offense even look like with AJ Brown in it and Ryan Tannehill throwing the ball? Like what I think is unlocked.
Well, what does the Vikings look like without Justin Jefferson? Like, AJ Brown is a Justin Jefferson talent.
Yeah, no,
They
that's
look
fair.
awful without him, right? So like, at the time, I thought they did not get enough from AJ Brown. They clearly decided they didn't want to pay him. I thought it was the Titans saying, hey, we're going to have to blow this up soon. And Tannehill clearly is not a guy who can, really give you a realistic shot to win against a team like Buffalo, like Kansas City, like the Bengals, like the Dolphins even, with their weapons. So might as like, in some senses, I like that they didn't settle for mediocre play where they're in a very winnable division. They could almost run it back and win the division unless the Jaguars get really good. Because the Texans.
No, they're like they're winning that division. It's already like I think all.
No. I mean in future years, like you as the Titans can be like, hey, I can win this division each year, and I like that they're not winning the division and then getting bounced in the playoffs. Doesn't do shit for you as a franchise, and so I kind of like that they would say, hey, it's AJ Brown even can't ascend with Tannehill. We need to get a quarterback, so let's get some picks to make it happen. On the other hand,
I don't know enough about their owner in terms of like if he's just. I mean, it looks like he's probably super reactionary because that.
So what I do know about the owner is he's not one of like the cash rich owners where every team has the same salary cap, but you'll see some teams like dole out bonuses and all this shit.
And then like your coaching staff doesn't fall into the salary cap. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, like he's not one of the richer owners in the league.
Yeah,
and so. There was a little bit about like him not having like the money to pay AJ Brown signing.
The whole idea that like,
I mean, I said this a couple years ago.
Spend money, yeah. I mean, like there's rich franchises and there's not. Like it's not the salary cap tries to fool fans into thinking that it negates that, but it's just not the case.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it evener, but not perfect. But anyways, to finish this thought, I've said it for a couple years now. If you don't have elite wide receiver talent in today's NFL, you're not winning. So getting rid of a prime AJ Brown, who Treylon Burks has looked good. He's not AJ Brown. He's like breaking out a little bit, but it was bad.
Well, yeah, like Devonta Smith is their number 2, and that guy, within the next couple of years,
Slim Reaper, man, he's really good.
That's what I'm saying. Like he could develop into, from what like we've been told and heard about this guy, is that he could be like a top 5 receiver. So eventually, if that's what they have on either side of the field, I mean, that's going to be lethal. And then Jalen Hurts I mean, he's turned into something that his like this was not supposed to be his ceiling. I mean, he's really just kind of broken.
Hurts is amazing. I was talking about this with Ben, Bert's brother, when he was here, and Ben's like, "No, the Cowboys for sure over the Eagles." I'm on the Eagles side there, but Cowboys are amazing too. And then Ben said he'd also take Dak and Lamar over Jalen. And I think Jalen has better weapons, but he's also, I don't know, he's just amazing. So
I would definitely not take Dak over him. I might take Lamar.
Well, and it's just there were talks this year that like this, Lamar, the Eagles could be done with Lamar, like if he didn't work out. And for I thought he was going to be amazing, and he has been. He's clearly
the Eagles. It feels like they've just backed into this team with how they.
Well, yes and no. Like they built the best O-line in the NFL, or one of them.
Yeah, but like when you look at how the GM or whoever the guy is, Howie Roseman, the guy that they always complain about that is making like personnel decisions. They're firing coaches in reactionary ways after like telling them to lose games, and the guys that won Super Bowls like 2 years before, drafting QBs in the first round when you have a franchise quarterback. And granted, Carson Wentz turned into a pumpkin, but
that was right. That they just, and I think more.
But at the time, people were like, "What is like what is?"
People are gonna say shit,
I mean, they had a guy who was an MVP candidate that drafted QB. So
yeah, so Deshaun looked terrible against.
Yeah, he threw for like 130 yards. I think they're the first team to win with like 3.
Yeah, it was all their It was all their defense. Not even their running game got it going. He was throwing balls at people's feet, and I would say that's twofold. One is since Deshaun last played, the meta in the NFL as far as like how defenses play has changed, in that a lot of these pass first quarterbacks are having to learn how to defeat cover 2, and we've seen all the stars go through a little bit of a bump and road with this. The Chiefs last year struggled with it. The Bills at points. Joe Burrow this year at points. And in some ways, Deshaun's a quarterback that's built to beat cover 2, where he can get you on the ground. But, the other thing is he might, after you get paid like that, if you're not truly in love with football, it's not inconceivable he's not been working hard. And, that not to mention like the rust. But,
yeah, I mean, I think he's one of those guys that I would be shocked if he's not great again. But
I would be surprised, but also if you told me that he's like not been working hard, I think that separates in like, it's not inconceivable. And I mean, Cleveland has a good roster. They got a good O-line. Their defense obviously is not great stopping the run, but they got a good O-line. Their pass catching core is okay. So we'll see how he does against the Bengals this week. Detroit.
Lamar went down too. We skipped that game. But
oh yeah, sorry. Lamar got hurt. Sorry, I just don't want to talk about Denver.
Yeah, I know, but it's just news in the NFL. Yeah. He did.
Lamar got hurt. 1 to 2 weeks. Huntley's a decent backup.
But unbelievable that Denver lost again. 10-9.
I know, dude. I was in Ferg's sports bar watching. I was just like, oh my god, whatever. Detroit looks really good. If they could have, I hope they make the playoffs. I would like them over. They're more exciting than like a Giants, Commanders. I think the Seahawks are exciting too, but I would love Detroit to make it.
Jacksonville's just that team that they show you their potential 1 week. Am I losing you?
No, I got you.
Oh yeah, Jacksonville's just that team that, they show you their potential 1 week, and the next week they come out and show you why you hate them all over again.
Yeah. Make sure I get the next one here. The next one is, dude, Atlanta. Fucking disappointing, Atlanta.
Red helmets look sick. We can say that.
Yeah, I mean, I used to joke they'd be fun. Like, I guess we don't even want to see them in the playoffs. They've been so whatever. Green Bay, come from behind.
Chicago had them. They had them right where
they had them. Christian Watson had a big game. Justin Fields started off hot. The Bears team is just not good. But, you got to be excited you have Fields. Oh, also for Detroit, I should mention, their future is like very bright. I think, whose pick do they have that's like top 3 right now next year?
Oh, yeah. They traded for a, I don't remember. Is it Indy maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, they're going to have like a top 3 pick in the draft. All of a sudden, Jared Goff looks tradable.
Oh, is it LA? It could be LA. That would make sense.
Yes, they have LA. They have the Rams pick, which looks like a locked in top 3 pick in the NFL draft. They have all, and if they select quarterback, all of a sudden they can trade Jared Goff to maybe a team like the Jets, who you don't think the Jets would be thrilled to have Jared Goff right now with their roster. They have a top O-line.
Like the perfect fit for that. Just win with your defense and don't make too many mistakes on offense.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Jared Goff's like probably a better Jimmy G. So
but they also have like Mike White. Looks like he might be a laser show. So
Mike White is good. I'd like to see him this week against Buffalo. He's done well against 2 bad defenses. And that's, a lot of teams are built to do well. We'll get to this Miami game in a second. But yeah, so Detroit, just if they don't make it this year, they're set up well in the future. This Niners-Miami game, I think I played the Niners defense everywhere. Obviously, their quarterback got hurt in Jimmy G. Outside chance he plays this year. Dolphins start the game with like a 70-yard touchdown to Sherfield. And this was the worst game Tua has played all year. It wasn't even that great of coverage by the Niners, like I thought it was, but like he was just missing wide open guys. And I think that just shows you, in my opinion, Miami's beat a team that will destroy a bad defense. But I think
what I was going to say is, as a Niners fan, it just must have been so frustrating because here you have Miami, who everybody's saying is rolling. They come in, the Niners finally, like this looked like they're all right. We are now Super Bowl contenders game. QB goes down.
Cock Brock, dude. You throw cock in the nickname of any player, and fans are obsessed.
I didn't know that was a name that was going around.
It's like in the ESPN article.
What's it? What it's
Brock Purdy, who was.
No, well, what's the name? What's the name?
Big Cock Brock.
Ooh, ESPN put that in there.
That was in there. He was Mr.
Wickersham released that. Did you read that Andrew Luck article this week?
No.
Oh, Indy. Poor Indy fans, dude. He's saying like, "Oh, I regret retiring," and
whatever. So, anyways, good win from the Niners. We'll see who is gonna be like. I think they're forced to stick with Brock Purdy. He looked okay. Tua looked awful. I think he'll be fine. When you have Tyreek and whatnot, you're always gonna be fine and a great coach. But I think Miami is clearly not in a tier. Like people are crazy when Tyreek Hill destroying teams like the Lions, teams like the Bears defense. That's not the same thing as a Bills defense, a Cowboys defense, some of these great defense, the Niners defense. And so they didn't have Teron Armstead, obviously Miami. And I think Tua just felt rushed, even though he wasn't. Seattle versus the Rams. Rams looked competent. They picked up Baker Mayfield off the waivers after he was cut.
Crazy story.
Some were saying that, I thought maybe it was a little bit to do with the Rams just saying, fuck you Niners, we're not going to let you get Mayfield because we have waiver priority. Some are saying that the Niners didn't even put in a claim on Mayfield, though. And Mayfield now has a chance to start tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd be shocked if he plays tomorrow against the Raiders.
Maybe they'll like a couple Wildcat sets for him.
If you're Mayfield too, this is maybe a career saver if there is any career to save, where you just feel like Sean McVay, if there's something to get out of Mayfield, it sounds like Matt Stafford, sadly, will probably not play again. Maybe like that's looking more and more likely.
People have said that about him. Like even when he was in Detroit, there was like rumors that he had like career-ending.
He's had neck issues
Yeah,
for a long
it's
time.
like the Peyton stuff.
And I think that, like it was pretty bad process what the Rams have done, but they got a lucky result last year. Like,
Well, yeah, and that's like my favorite is everybody that says, well, they traded all their picks away and probably wasn't worth it. It's like it was worth it. They
it
won.
was worth it because it worked. But if it didn't work, don't you
No,
think
if
that
it didn't work, but it's just like in the end, every fan base would give up. Even I've been blessed to be like a New England fan since the second grade, 2001. And the first year they won the Super Bowl, like when I first started watching football, I would give 10 years of not having good draft picks for one more Super Bowl. That's like it's the thing we watch the most.
Yeah, but if you knew you could always be in the AFC or NFC championship and you were whatever, like 25% to win the Super Bowl every year, you would not go all in for 1 year. But that's not what the Rams were facing. The Rams got really lucky in a lot of ways. Their guys stayed healthy. Announced today Von Miller out for the year. That's unfortunate for the Bills. They probably should survive that, but they got Von Miller. They got Aaron Donald, who some are saying might even retire this year. I would say they were really fortunate they didn't have to face the Chiefs or the Bills in the Super Bowl too. They probably got the third best team last year to face, but hey, good for the Rams. They sun ran it, and now McVay's probably going to walk off. McVay's not going to try to slog through some rebuild that he's, and
LA is just such a bad sports town. The Rams are the franchise that they deserve. Like they won a Super Bowl, that's great. The second they won the Super Bowl, coach is talking about leaving for TV. Stan Kroenke is hated by St. Louis, where he's from. All the players are talking about retiring. Like it's very much just that's what that fan base, which doesn't really exist, deserves, in my opinion. But
Seattle, I mean, we have to talk. Geno Smith is probably the story of the NFL in a lot of ways. Where, I mean, he's been throwing a lot. He's looked great. I hope they make the playoffs over Giants or Washington, even though the Giants would be kind of fun. They will have a top 3 pick in the NFL too, where they're going to be faced with a decision. Do you stick with Geno and load up? And they have a ton of picks, by the way, not just that pick, but they're going to have Denver's pick, which looks locked in for top 4. So they're going to face a decision, get a quarterback or trade out or acquire pieces to help Geno. And
it just makes the Russ thing even that much funnier.
Much funnier.
He left this team in shambles, and here they are on their way.
And now they're passing more too.
No, yeah, I mean, and it's going back to my take that when Russ moved closer to God, they took away his talent and gave it to Geno Smith, who will take his former franchise to the promised land.
Geno's 32. What would you do? Would you? I think
I don't you know how I feel about Geno, man. Like I think he's primed to turn back into a pumpkin.
I don't think you've watched any Geno games this year. Also,
no, I have. I watched the Tampa one, and then I watched
the Denver one.
Yeah, I think the Denver one as well.
Yeah, but that was week 1.
Yeah, but I mean,
I don't think you've seen much. I mean, it in some cases with Seattle.
And when I watch Red Zone too, I mean, because I watch the Patriots at the bar here, so I always have because they don't play a lot of times on the local channels, so I have them up. Geno's great, but it's very much like a Ryan Tannehill type situation. I think that he's having a career resurgence, and
yeah, he's better than Tannehill, but yeah, you're right. He's a product of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. I will say, if I'm Seattle. And I think there is a quarterback that can be in a Mahomes-esque Allen tier. I take them, no question. Play Geno, play that guy, whatever. Let him sit a year. If there's not, and I do that mainly because Seattle won't have a top 5 pick for years to come.
Well, what I was going to say is what they should do is sign him or go with him next year, and if he does turn back into a pumpkin, you just sell out and get that one pick, and then you get Caleb Williams, who is going to be really special.
Well, he won't turn into a quote unquote pumpkin unless his team sucks. Cincinnati, Kansas City.
He's got that in him, I think. Like, who knows? But we'll see.
Chiefs have lost 4 of the last 5, I think, to the Bengals and Bills.
Okay, yeah, 4 of the last 5, like including playoffs.
Yeah, with their one win there.
So what's the one win? The 13.
That doesn't mean that much to me, but it does show people used to think Mahomes is untouchable, and he's not. This is, Kelsey had like an untimely fumble. Both teams, I think, played cover 2 and dared the other team to run on them. Jamar Chase is back. That's big for the Bengals. I would comfortably, I think the Bengals are a better team than the Dolphins.
Yeah, and on the Mahomes being untouchable thing, I mean, once you turn into a $500 million quarterback or whatever, that's, he's lost most of his weapons, and I still think he's pretty special.
If Tyreek Hill, we got to talk about this. If Tyreek Hill falls off in a year or two because he's a guy who wins with speed and he's older, then the Chiefs won the trade. If Tyreek Hill continues what he's doing this year with the Dolphins, who's having the best career of his life, I think, and he does that for 4 more years, that's a terrible trade by the Chiefs.
When's the last time that the best receiver in the league has been this little short across the middle type guy?
That's today's NFL is like.
No, but I'm just saying the usually the star wide receivers are outside the numbers, and
no, it's just quarterbacks are averaging more yards throwing to the middle of the field, and B, in today's NFL, it's about route running. It's not having open space. It's not Mike Evans, and just throwing up. I mean, look, there are outliers. There's Mike Williams. There's Gabriel Davis's that can have big games.
I still think Justin Jefferson is an outside the numbers talent as well, but
he gets a lot of slot usage.
He can go over the middle as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, fun game. The Bills are now the 1 seed. The Chiefs have, I think, the easiest strength of schedule left, though. So Bills need to win out, and they probably will. Chargers at the Raiders. If the Raiders weren't such a disaster to open the year, they would be, or if the AFC wasn't more competitive than the NFC, they would be kind of talked like the Lions, I think, where it's hey, you don't really want to face this Devontae Adams.
They're only 2 games out of the playoffs. I mean,
you just need a lot, though, looking at, you need the Jags to gut out a win against the Jets. You need the, No,
but I mean, let's just say the Jets lose to Miami and Buffalo. That's 2 losses right there.
And the Raiders need to be not the Chiefs for sure.
Yeah, so the Raiders have to win a couple division games, which they knew they were going to have to do anyway.
Very winnable tomorrow, but they could lose. I think a winnable game against the Patriots, but they could
100%. No, that's totally winnable.
Have to beat the Steelers.
If the Patriots lose on Monday night, it's look out below. The team is full free fall.
Yes. I mean, that's not a place you love. Dallas now leads the league in point differential after this walloping of the Colts, who you got to love the keyboard warrior, Jeff Saturday, taking shots when he worked for ESPN at all the coaches and is now just done a bunch of dumb shit.
Which, by the way, I said was going to happen. It took a couple weeks, but it was eventually going to happen.
Look, he's working with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan? I said before the year that when the worst quarterback in the NFL, when one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL is Matt Ryan, the league's in pretty good hands. But, Matt Ryan is legitimately in discussion for the worst quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, that's like Ben Roethlisberger syndrome.
Yes.
But I mean, he's just old. I mean, it's just.
Yeah. I mean, we can't take anything away from this Dallas game other than that. Tony Pollard looked amazing as always. Zeke looked actually pretty good, I thought. And excited to see Dallas in the playoffs.
I mean, it's always I always think it's the best and worst thing for the NFL for Dallas to be good. Because the fans are Dallas is, the biggest brand in all all of American sports really. And then, but then outside of that, you have like the fans that just really think that a championship is their birthright because they did well in the 90s.
Yeah. And then the Bucks looked terrible for like 59 minutes.
This is the most Tom Brady Bucks game of the season where it's like
gutted out a win, and they're like the most shocking 6-6 now, right?
My friend was at the game and she said she posted something at the end. She's like, that first 5 minutes was great and that last 5 minutes was great, but the middle 50 was pretty awful.
Yeah. Here, bro, I'm gonna grab something real quick. Give your closing thoughts of week 13.
Yeah, I mean, I just looking at the New England schedule, because that's obviously what matters the most to me. Trying to get 3 wins here, so I got to finish out here 3-2, and then hopefully that 9 wins is enough to get in. And then just what I think was most interesting was that the Tennessee reactionary firing of their GM, who traded AJ Brown, but that just seems and I don't typically think teams.
All right. Sorry about that, Bert. Okay. Moving on to this week. We're opening up with the. Are you there, Bert? Oh, God. Did we lose him? Okay. Well, while I wait for Bert here, let me pull this up. What the hell just happened? Well, Bert dropped. Don't know when. Let me pull up my spreadsheet to log these games. If you're watching out there, let me know your favorite pick this week.
Dead
Bert,
air.
are you back?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. That's kind of weird.
That's kind of funny. Right when I asked you to take the reins, not a good look for your solo.
Just giving some thoughts on.
You're still freezing to me. Bertrand. All right, guys, give us a second while Bert figures out his technical difficulties. Just write all these teams down. Bert.
So I will say the power and Wi-Fi has been an issue over the past few days. There was like a kind of a weird situation about an hour from my house. Won't get into, but just
What happened? Was it some lunatic attacking the power company or something? All right, guys, I'm gonna move forward without Bert and tell him to reset. I'm gonna kick Bert. I'm gonna go game by game. We'll get his picks once he's back, and I'm gonna ask him to reset his router. He's been having some. I don't know what happened. He was in Carolina. Some lunatics did something to something. Anyways, we got the Las Vegas Raiders at the LA Rams. Rams are 6.5-point dogs. This could be the Mayfield game. The Rams, for as bad as I think we thought they were going to be, I think they scored 23 points against the Seahawks. Raiders you can score on, but I'm going to just take the Raiders and kind of hope we get a Mayfield game. I'm certainly rooting for Mayfield to play tomorrow. It could be more enjoyable. I'm going to watch this game. So I'm going to take Las Vegas minus 6.5. And we'll wait for Bert. And while we wait, let's pull up the playoff standings. Play around with that. Where can we play with this? Okay. No, we don't want an article. We want the New York Times thing we can play with. Or I think the ESPN one is good too. Okay. This is good enough. So, lock. The Bills, Chiefs, Titans, essentially locks. Bengals and Dolphins feel like locks. So then it comes down to, how do the Ravens do the rest of the year without Lamar? I assume they'll be fine against Pitt, which would really put the Ravens as a lock too. And then it's a battle between the Jets, the Patriots, the Chargers, and technically the Raiders, Browns. I don't even think the Steelers, with their tie breaks and shit, could make it, but let's look at some of these schedules and see what they look like. So the Jets schedule, the Chargers schedule. And if you guys know some playoff thing to play with, let me know. Maybe there's a playoff simulator, NFL. There we go. Okay. Okay, so let's play with this. I think we can make picks. Okay, so let's choose the Raiders to win. Let's choose Buffalo. Got the Bengals, the Cowboys. Give me the Lions there. The Eagles. Let's take the Ravens. And this is just who's going to win, not picks against the spread. Give me the Jaguars in an upset. The Chiefs. This one's close. I'll take the Niners. Give me the Hawks. This game's pretty close, though. I think this is honestly, this game could go either way. We'll give it to the Dolphins, though. And then give me the Cardinals here. Okay. So that keeps the Jets as the 7th seed, even with their loss, because I had losses to the Chargers and the Patriots. But the Raiders would be 1 game back. And if the Browns win, they're 1 game back. And remember, they beat up on the Bengals last time they played. Bert?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Hopefully it holds true here.
All right, well, we'll try to get through this. I was playing with the playoff simulator while you were gone.
Do every team in the AFC East losing every single game for the rest of the year and the Patriots winning every single game for the rest of the year.
Well, actually, I chose the Dolphins over the Chargers here, but I could see this one going either way. And then this Browns game is actually meaningful, where if they win with the way I picked it and the Patriots lose and the Jets lose and the Chargers lose, then the Browns are only 1 game back too.
Yeah.
Chose the Lions here. But anyways, let's get back to the program here. I chose the Las Vegas Raiders minus 6.5, hoping that we get a Mayfield game. How do you see this one?
Yeah, I mean, minus 6.5 is a big line for
the Raiders to
for Vegas to be getting, just having one. I think they're on a 3-game, maybe 2-game winning streak. But LA has just been that bad. I know that they covered against Seattle last week.
Yeah, they scored 23.
even if Mayfield plays, I mean, it's not going to be a good situation. So Vegas seems like they're in full throttle, trying to make their final push. LA kind of hobbling to the finish line. I like Vegas here, 6.5 as well.
In fact, if Mayfield doesn't play, I like the Rams side, but I'm making this pick based on Mayfield playing. Just off of, can't know the playbook that well, and he's throwing to Van Jefferson and Tutu Atwell, two of the worst wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, they're not like a real team.
All right, this next game, Bills at Jets. The last time these two teams played, the Bills didn't have a bunch of pieces that they will today. Now they won't have Von Miller, and the Jets have Mike White instead of Zach Wilson, which, I don't think Buffalo's still a team you want to drop back and pass. Like, I think Mike White dropped back 57 times against the Vikings. So Zonovan Knights look good for the Jets. But how do you see this one, Bert? So I did the other one first.
This is one of the rare games where I'm actually rooting for Buffalo to win, but 9.5 is such a big line. So I hope Buffalo wins this game, but I don't think that New York comes out necessarily like super flat and maybe, scores a garbage time touchdown, keeps it within like 6 points or something like that. But so I like New York here to cover, but definitely not to win the game.
I'm going to take the Bills side. I know, shocking, but, my thought is that if the Jets try to play, like if the Jets try to back to throw a lot, I think that could end disastrous against this Bills D. I think James Cook is really big for Buffalo, where hopefully they're using him more, getting a more explosive player at the running back position. He looked great against the Patriots. And if the Jets try to play like New England, they're just going to lose. So I don't really see them. They've been a pass-first team with Mike White. So I think that will work against them where, you can get some turnovers. The Bills defense still really good without Von Miller. So give me Buffalo. Eagles at the Giants. Eagles only getting 7 on the road. I'm going to take the Eagles here pretty comfortably. Again, the Eagles are a team who, if they want to take the foot off the gas, they can. They didn't really against the Titans, even though they subbed out Jalen late in the game. But the Giants run a ton of man coverage, and A.J. Brown is one of the best at beating man coverage. So I see no reason why the Eagles shouldn't go back to the A.J. Brown and co. And, the Giants, with the Eagles have Jordan Davis back, which should help against Saquon. Giants are a feel-good story, but they're not in the same class as an Eagles team. So I think the Eagles only getting 7 is surprising, and I'll take that side.
So I kind of disagree with the fact that the Eagles can take their foot off the gas, because if they drop 1 and then lose to the Cowboys, then that negates their tiebreaker.
No, sorry. Let me clarify what I meant by that. In games they're winning comfortably.
Oh, like when they're up on, like they're up in the half. Yeah.
Yeah, when they're up big in the half, sometimes they run the ball. Actually, a lot of their games, and they just try to get out.
Yeah. No. That's been like their big critique for gamblers this season, is that they kind of. No, I see what you're saying. I thought
matters for if they're going to cover a spread, if they're a team that like lets people get back into it, or.
But yeah, I mean, I think we kind of both expect the Eagles and Cowboys to win out here, with the exception kind of being their game, but and seeing who wins there. Probably Cowboys will win. I don't see them getting swept, but that's in a couple weeks. But I like Philly a lot here too. I think that they're gonna come out fully engaged, and I mean, Jalen Hurts last week just really maybe making that push for, you talk about Heisman moment in college, like that he might be in his like MVP stretch here. So looked really good.
This next one, Vikings at the Lions. Lions 2.5-point favorites. How do you got it, Bert?
I'd like to see a statistic for the last time like a 10-2 team was not favored against like a 4-7 team or whatever.
And did not have like any notable injuries or anything. Like,
Yeah. Like Kirk Cousins is still starting, and
yeah, Justin Jefferson is still out there.
it's just nobody believes in Minnesota. They've won crazier games this year. I think I have to take them because it just seems like a spot that they're, it's probably going to be like Sunday afternoon. I'm gonna be like, damn, should have known that Minnesota was not going to perform. But to be 10-2 and be getting points against a team with a losing record, you feel like they should cover.
I'm going to take the Lions, man. I'm a believer in the O-line. I'm a believer in Amon-Ra St. Brown, an elite wide receiver in the discussions of Stephon Diggs, Tyreek, and co. I'm a believer in DeAndre Swift being fully healthy.
He is a badass. I'm on St. Brown.
Amon-Ra, yeah. Their defense is playing spirited football. They've had close losses against good teams. Give me the Lions in actually a big game for them where they win this game. They win.
This is their season for sure.
Let's just peek at the schedule real quick. They got Vikings, Jets, Panthers, Bears, Packers. Honestly, a winnable.
They probably are going to go 4-0 to end the year.
Yeah, they could easily go 5-0. The Packers are really bad against the run, something the Lions do well. So, I like the Lions here with the Vikings again. They've been a really lucky team. Got to come down to earth and give me the Lions, man. I like that pick. Okay. Browns getting 6 on the road against the Bengals. 6 is a big line. Part of me wonders if that's an overreaction to the first game back, but I'm going to take the Bengals, who I think are third in the AFC. I think they're a clear they're in the tier with Buffalo and Kansas City, and then there's a tier break to the Dolphins. And there's a even though the Browns beat the shit out of the Bengals last time they played on Halloween with their O-line and co, you would expect the Bengals to learn from that. And there's a real chance that Deshaun is going to be terrible again. So give me the Bengals -6.
I mean, Cincinnati, just in like their last 4 meetings or whatever, they just have kind of like a weird thing. Browns, even in their Super Bowl year last year, they lost like 40-16 or something crazy like that. Had no business doing that. So I think that maybe they probably win this game, but it feels like a game that they might have to like squeak out. So I mean, I like Cleveland +6 here. It just seems like a spot for them.
Yeah, I mean, the Browns have, one of the best O-lines in the league in discussion with the Lions and the Eagles. So if they do commit the ball on the ground, it's, and they get some turnovers.
I mean, Deshaun could totally come out and be Deshaun again. Like we just don't know. But.
Yeah. Or he sucks. Houston at Dallas. Davis Mills is back in the saddle. Kyle Allen experiment was thankfully short-lived.
16. That's got to be the biggest line of the year, right?
16.5 for the Cowboys, who are now facing the worst team in the NFL. They play spirited defense, the Texans. They just are
spirited defense.
They are a disaster on offense. How do you have this one?
Man, it's a huge line.
Not my favorite spot to bet. Yeah,
I just love the Cowboys to come in here and kick the shit out of the Texans. It's Davis Mills coming back. It just feels like maybe Micah Parsons has 16.5 sacks in this game. So I like Dallas here, man. I think this is a easy spot for them. But maybe they take their foot off the gas.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take Dallas too, but this is not a spot I would ever personally bet or like add in like a parlay because it's like, if the Texans.
No, if you're putting a -16.5 line in your parlay, you need to see somebody. Like that is a like.
But there's a real chance the Texans just decide to save face, and they're like, we don't care if we're down 10 in the fourth. We're just running the ball. They just try to get out of there like that. And I think this line like almost requires some pick sixes to be thrown.
I don't
Right?
know, man. I think they could just have them go 3 and out and be up 21-0 in the first quarter, and
I mean, you usually only
that's
get
that.
what, like around 8 possessions a game, like in a normal
I mean,
game.
they could be 17-0 in the first quarter, and then it's just a matter of if they just kinda do whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it is a top tier team against a terrible team, but
Nothing that Houston does, like, match like, Houston's
Laramie
gonna come.
Tunsil is one of the best tackles in the league. So Tunsil versus Parsons would be fun.
Laramie Tunsil's a great offensive tackle. Micah
That's what
Parsons
that's what I have nice to say about the Texans.
is an elite, like, Lawrence Taylor level defensive player where it's looking
Laramie
like.
Tunsil's really stepped up his game this year. He's in discussion for all pro tackle after the
I've been a
94.
gigantic Laramie Tunsil fan since the gas mask picture. Like,
Okay.
I love that.
Me too. I was in on the gas mask.
Yes. And then, like, the stories and I mean, the only thing he did that was kinda shitty was he sold out his entire, like, coaching staff at Ole Miss. But then it turned out Hugh Freeze is a like, piece of shit anyway. So, it is what it is.
Yeah. I'm usually on the player side there. Okay, let's get through these. So before your internet drops on us, Jaguars +4 against the Titans. The Jaguars disappointing loss last week. I think the way that the Titans defense can be eviscerated, which is clearly they are good against the run and bad against the pass. I like Zay Jones to have a good game this week for the Jaguars. Derrick Henry has not looked like the Derrick Henry people thought they were drafting this year. He's been trending down. Treylon Burks is concussed, and I don't think he's going to play. Took a really big hit against the Eagles. I think he was on his way to a breakout game. But give me the Jaguars +4, who I just like to move the ball and, get a nice little – yeah, technically they're alive, I think. But, get a nice little feel-good win for the Jags. So give me the Jags +4. And I'd bet this straight up.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Titans are in a spot right now that they're really, really low, right? Like, you fired a GM after
AJ Brown just dropped his nuts.
yeah,
on your face,
I
had
mean,
to
and
fire
there's
your
probably
GM.
other stuff going on in the building. Like, we like to say that it's all
It's really bizarre. Like they didn't wait until, like, how unusual is this for a team that's going to make the playoffs to fire their GM mid?
It's so reactionary. It's such a Bush League, like,
No,
crappy.
it makes you wonder if it's not reactionary. Like if this guy, like,
Well, that's what I'm saying is, like, when you look at the whole situation, we like to say it was because of AJ Brown, yada, yada, yada. There's probably a bunch of other stuff going on in the building as well. But with, they've been kind of like the laughing stock of the league this last week in terms of that. And typically, you expect teams to come out and not perform well. But I think when you have a great coach, a lot of times they use that as a way to just, like, put the team in a bubble and bring them out ready to rock. And with this being a divisional game and thinking that Mike Vrabel is one of the great NFL coaches in the league right now, I like Tennessee here to beat Jacksonville and significantly. So I take Tennessee here -4.
apparently Vrabel really wanted to keep AJ Brown. So
yeah, oh yeah, I mean, coaches typically want their players. Like, it's not.
yeah, I mean
That's like the big thing in the NFL.
So
Like,
maybe it became, though, a Vrabel, like after that game, it would not be shocked if a discussion happened, like almost a shouting match where Vrabel told the owner basically choose.
no, I would. It's 100% one of those situations.
Like, I can't work with this idiot. He got rid of that guy. It's me or him. And John Snyder's like, well, I drafted an all-pro defensive tackle.
Well, and we're talking about an ownership group that is not afraid. I mean, they fired Mike Mularkey, who went to the playoffs to hire Mike Vrabel. Like, this is a team that does things like that. But yeah.
Yeah. Baltimore Ravens +2.5 on the road against the Steelers. Lamar out 1 to 3 weeks, I believe Schefter said. So, how do you got it, Bert?
I mean, I think you have to like Huntley to play against Pittsburgh, who is one of the worst teams in the league this year. Every time Huntley has been in a game, minus maybe last week where it was kind of rinky-dink and weird with Denver's defense playing with their hair on fire. But it's not like he had a bad game. I think he comes out ready to rock, and they probably beat the Steelers here. So I like them plus 2.5 getting points.
Yeah, me too. Huntley, whatever. Maybe that shit from last year is just stuck in my mind where Huntley had big games with Andrews, but I like that to continue. And
I mean, didn't he win a playoff game? Like,
he just played really. I don't know. I don't remember that, but he played. I just know that like he was better for Mark Andrews in fantasy than like Lamar was, and he's
I mean, there was like talk about
he's like 80% Lamar or whatever,
Yeah.
And I think the Ravens have an outside chance of getting J.K. Dobbins back this week, who we'll see how healthy he is, but I like the Ravens there. All right, Chiefs -9 at the Broncos. I'm gonna take the Chiefs. Like Kadarius Toney's practicing today, so hopefully he gets in there. And the Broncos are still the Broncos. I don't think Courtland Sutton's gonna play. Where I do think, I should have mentioned for the Vikings game, I think like half their team has the flu. Apparently, the flu is pretty bad this year. But give me the Chiefs here. Where questionable how motivated the Broncos will be in this game. Yeah, they just played a Ravens team close. Jerry Jeudy's back, but God bless you if you're betting the Broncos.
No shot, dude. We're talking about a team at the lowest point.
This line probably should be closer to Dallas's line than.
Yeah, but I think because KC loses last week, that plays into it. It's all reactionary. But we're talking about a team that has been in free fall for 45 days, let's say. And we're talking about another team that has December Patrick Mahomes. Like, there's going to be receivers running wide open all over the field, him like throwing guys open. Even with Denver's defense or whatever, I like him to throw like 4 or 5 touchdowns, crush the Broncos. So
I think there was like a bone bruise, something with Mahomes' foot, but he practiced today, so it's not a big deal. Niners -3 at the Bucks. Niners are only 3-point favorites at home with the Brock Purdy, BCB, as he's called in the locker room.
What was that sample again?
How do you see it, Bert?
Man, NFL must be killing themselves that this
Jimmy
isn't
G's
going
not
to be
in.
Brady Garoppolo. But Tampa, weird game against New Orleans. Comes out on top.
Mike Evans looked cooked. Like Mike Evans looked
about
done.
I got to take my guy here, man. And he just hates San Fran and the way they've kind of like treated him or whatever. They did, he still holds it against him that they didn't draft him 6 rounds in a row. So I like Tom to come out maniacal, and he's been the only good thing about that team this year. And even then he's been struggling, but it seems like they're going to at least have to get to a winning record and have some type of game here. I like them to be in the divisional round actually this year, but we can get to that when we get to playoff preview as the season wraps up. But yeah, I like Tampa +3.
Yeah, this game I could see going either way. Like I could see the Niners destroying the Bucks like 40-17. I could see the Niners because the way the Niners beat the Dolphins last week, like
100%.
There was open wide receivers for the Dolphins. Tua just wasn't hitting them. Tom probably is going to hit guys like that. On the other hand, Chris Godwin's a far cry from Tyreek Hill off his ACL. So I do like Tom to move the chains with Godwin. And then what is this Niners offense going to look like with Brock Purdy? Is it going to be the CMC show? Because Kamara was not looking great against the Bucks. CMC is a lot better than Kamara, but still. But just give me the Niners, man.
Well, if there is a team to survive like multiple quarterback injuries because obviously Trey Lance has gone down, Jimmy G's gone down. It is the 49ers because
Mr. Irrelevant, dude. I think he's like the only Mr. Irrelevant to like that like was a quarterback to like record X amount of passing yards or something. Like
what about Swag Kelly? Wasn't he a
Chad,
in this-
he won the Canadian Football League this year. He came in the fourth quarter and won it.
that guy? If you follow college football at all, so he would be like playing on Saturday, and then like the next Friday he would be like fighting kids in high school on the field on camera. Legend.
Jim Kelly, nephew of the Bills.
Yeah, Jim Kelly's nephew. Yeah.
Seattle only -4 against the Panthers. I guess the thought is basically for the Panthers, who's coming off the bye. I mean, D'Onta Foreman's a question for them, and like in games that the Panthers win, he's like ran the ball great. He's looked like Derrick Henry for them. Seahawks do not have a great defense. They seem like they're in a different class of an organization though than the Panthers right now. So I don't know how you don't take Seattle -4. This is like effectively a playoff game for them. So give me Seattle -4.
So it's Darnold, right?
Sam Darnold is the starter for the Panthers going forward.
Yeah, I mean,
who's honestly been much better than
no, he has, but it's they're releasing the QB.
the battle of the New York Jets recast.
Yeah, it's Geno versus Sam Darnold. Yeah, I mean, I think Seattle's pretty obvious here. Maybe Geno wants a revenge game on the New York Jets, even though I'm pretty sure nobody is still involved in the organization minus the owner he was drafted into. But yeah, I like Seattle here too. I don't know how you don't.
All right, Dolphins only 3.5 point road favorites against the Chargers, who, the world was their oyster, I think, if they could take care of business. But now, I mean, this is a big game for both these teams. This is effectively a playoff type game. How do you see it, Bert?
Yeah, I mean, you know where I'm going with this. LA is a losing organization with a loser coach and a very talented QB. Stop me if you've heard that before. Phillip Rivers, Anthony Lynn, North Turner.
I don't think it's fair in a year where he hasn't had Mike Williams or Keenan Allen the whole year. And the Chargers, like no one has more money on IR, I think, where like I think like 2 or 3 of their
Dude, they lost to Vegas last week.
Okay, but a strength of the Chargers was supposed to be their O-line after a disastrous last year. And again, I think they lost like 3 of their
I just
O-line
think
picks.
fading them has been such free money because for whatever reason, the NFL world believes that Staley is like some sharp coach or something, and he's just not.
No, he's like second favorite to be fired.
Yeah, well, now, but like he looks at an Excel sheet and that's how he coaches the entire game, which is fine, I guess. Not really, but he coaches on feel 0%, which I think is like you have to have some type of
he did some negative analytics things. The other
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure now he's probably like going backwards.
blew up
So yeah, Miami, love the coach, love the team. Well, I hate the team, but I love how they're built. But I like them to stomp the Chargers this weekend. So give me Miami -3.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Dolphins too. Just thinking that Tyreek and Tua is fine, but if Tua looks bad this game, watch out. Oh my god.
Well, who knows? He had a bad game last week. Maybe Mike McDaniel made him a little 250 play type video.
We made a big time there. Got a sex spot. The Dolphins.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take the Dolphins because I think they should have their left tackle back. Not 100% sure there. I like Tyreek to just run wild on it. Like every offense is going off against the Chargers D. Chargers D is bad. I don't know which O-line pieces they're going to get back. They should have Mike Williams back, which is big. But yeah, I mean, the Chargers just kind of have to prove it here. So Miami -3.5, you feel good about that. But important for Tua to have a good game in my mind. All right, Monday Night Football, Patriots -2 on the road against a fully healthy-ish Cardinals, at least on offense, who finally will have Hopkins, Hollywood, and I believe Rondale Moore, maybe. And so I'm going to take the Cardinals. Nothing is impressive about the Patriots. Yeah, you can score on the Cardinals, but the Cardinals just have a much better offense. I don't think they should be getting spotted points. Like, Ramondre is not going to do it by himself. So give me the Cardinals.
I would just be so surprised if the Patriots lose in the next 2 weeks. I know they're favored in this game, but I feel like
surprising.
It would be very surprising for their season to end, 3-4 weeks early. Even in the Cam Newton year, like the season was mathematically in play. But I think if they lose these 2 games, they're probably done mathematically. Even
that really has nothing to do with how they will do against the Cardinals this week.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I would be very surprised for them to drop the next 2 games because those are their winnable games versus, they have Buffalo, Cincinnati, Miami on the back half. So I really like them in this weekend, the following week to take care of business. They got 4 primetime games in a row. They lose this one, they're definitely that primetime game against the Raiders is definitely getting flexed. But or out of prime time, but I think they cover here. Yeah.
All
I think
right.
they
Well,
against Arizona in they played like them just like a couple years ago and kicked their.
Here are our games. The green ones we're on the same page for. I would say there's some suspicious lines this week, like Seattle -4, Miami -3.5. Both of those are suspicious. Baltimore even +2.5. It just seems wrong. Is what I mean by suspicious. Other than that, pretty normal lines. You want to give us your 3 favorites before we get out of here?
Yeah, sure. I like.
Do you want to both go with Seattle and Miami as 2?
Yeah, I like Seattle and Miami for sure. And then let's see.
I'll take Buffalo as my 3rd.
I mean, I think the New England Arizona game is. I mean, they are just so. Every story they have in the news is negative, so it's just like I don't. And not that New England is much better this year, but to have a -2 line.
I just think like the Cardinals haven't been healthy all year is a big part of it too. Like, can you imagine? Wouldn't you die for a pass catching core of DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown versus Nelson Aguilar and Jacoby Myers?
There's pretty much no receiving cores that I wouldn't rather have than the Patriots, but that's also kind of been a tenet of their teams previously. Like, it's not like they've ever had the most talented receiving cores in the league. So, I mean, I don't know. I like New England here to at least, make the right decisions when Arizona is not.
All right, guys. Well, that will do it for us this week. I think I'm going to be on the Swolecast tomorrow, so tune in there to break down the DFS slate. I'll be back on my channel Friday or Saturday for a DFS main slate breakdown as well. Had a bunch of great calls last week, so tune into that. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and good luck this weekend if you're betting the games.
And beat Navy.
What'd you say?
I said and beat Navy.
Oh, it's Army-Navy game?
Yeah, baby. Tune in on CBS. It's a cool game every weekend. So only college football game this weekend, so it's pretty cool.
Saturday or?
Saturday, yeah.
Yeah. That'll be a good one. Burt household.
They'll run the ball 120 times combined.
Burt and his dad went to Army and his brother went to Navy, so that's a big game for the Burt household. See you guys. Peace.